Hi guys, I'm Scott Speed, driver of this amazing Volkswagen Beetle GRC car. I got good news for the iRacing fam. We got this coming in. I'm currently working on it myself personally to make sure that it is as accurate as possible. With the addition of dirt and now this mean car, it is gonna be so fun. And it's gonna be available free to all the iRacing members. Personally, I can't wait to get out there and race you guys on it.
Hello and welcome to round 3 of Thursday Night IMSA. You're joining Jay Kennedy, Bo Albert for action on V8s Online here at Sonoma Raceway, running on the long layout. 45-minute race ahead of us tonight here at Sonoma, and it should be a very, very entertaining race. But we will say a big hello to Bo before we get underway. G'day Bo, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good mate. Looking forward to this one. They say things always happen in threes, and this is round 3, so I expect to see another thriller tonight. Not to mention that this layout of Sonoma that we're using tonight has some big passing opportunities at the ends of the lap. So if the cars are together like they have been all season in the final 10 minutes, we might need some first aid kits on standby because there could be some heart-stopping moments.
For sure, this track always brings on plenty of action. We see it in the V8 Supercar, in all our broadcasts that we've brought at this fantastic track. We'll no doubt see it again tonight here at the slightly longer layout, running through the infield on what's called the long layout, but the layout that's a bit more familiar to IndyCar followers as opposed to NASCAR followers. But yeah, really cool track. We've got Lewis Gallon on the track at the moment, about to finish his second lap. He's way down the field in qualifying at the moment, so as just on cue, he puts in the fastest lap by 1.5 seconds nearly. So that was a good bit of timing there for Gallon.
Yeah, definitely, but he has Wayne C. Burke now coming across the start-finish line, who gets pretty close, isn't quite able to match Luis Paulo Gallon, but we saw his pace at Watkins Glen, so if Wayne C. Burke is now on the front row, let's hope he can put in a good showing in the race.
For sure. He had really good pace towards the end of the race last week. We were talking off air about the pace that he had. No, I was actually talking about his teammate, but the Synergy Sim Racing guys always have good pace at all the tracks as well. So, be good to see how he performs tonight, and hopefully he'll get a bit better jump away at the start because he got caught up in a few incidents early on last week, which put him back in the field.
Yeah, it put him on the back foot, but he made a great recovery, so he's just going to be hoping for a nice clean start, get away, no trouble, and apply that blowtorch to Luis Paulo Gallon, who has been pretty flawless so far this season. But this track isn't going to be easy on the prototypes. Plenty of places for the cars to get light and lose the back end a little bit. So any kind of pressure on Luis tonight could be good news for Wayne.
Familiar name on screen right now in the number 17 car. Reese Gardner out on track tonight. Great to see him out there. He's been working hard to try and get into this top split. We'll see him out on track tonight. A little bit down the field at the moment, P11 in class, but we'll see him work his way through the field. A very, very clean and strategic driver, so we'll surely see Reese move through, so we'll keep one eye on Reese throughout. But Elliot Biddle leading the way in the GTE class. We've got 13 cars in GTE tonight. We've got 7 cars in both DP and GT3.
Yeah, a little bit of a smaller field for those two classes today, which is a bit of a shame, but we still have our GTEs full to the bumper, which is fantastic to see because they have provided plenty of entertainment so far this season, and we're only 2 rounds in, so we expect some big things from those GTE cars, but it looks like everyone's just about finishing their lap times now, and we're just waiting for any jumps in position through the classes.
We've got about 30 seconds or so left in this qualifying session. If you are wanting to keep up to date with where your favourite driver is out on track, we do have live timing up and running on our website, v8online.com/live-timing. It is in the description in our YouTube description chat. So if you are wanting to get all the details about where everyone is out on track, you can keep up to date with it right there. We've got 45 minutes tonight. Fairly sure it's restricted tank once again. I'm not 100% sure. I've been busy doing other things today instead of researching like normal with the new iRacing UI coming out today, so which has been very, very enjoyable.
Yeah, it has been, and I wonder how many drivers have actually launched themselves into this race tonight with that new UI, seeing if they can find their way onto this grid. But that's qualifying done now. We have all our classes set, and Luis Paulo Gallon once again leading the field away in your Daytona prototype field, with Wayne C. Burke just behind him in second, and Sam Fitzpatrick and Wayne G. Hewitt, they'll be third and fourth on the second row of the grid. Paul Feely and Samuel Doak They're on the third row of the grid with Warren Pickering bringing up the DP class.
Yeah, then Elliot Biddle will lead the way in GTE. Antitero, Darren Marsh, next row. Then we've got Lewis Goodway, Zach Hanlon, Jose Lana, Vale Riches, Greg Stewart, Reese Gardner, Dennis Feidler, Brendan Jackson, Margin June, and Gustavo Gunde. The final runners in GTE. Go on, mate, you can do it.
And finally in GT3, we have Marcin taking pole, only just though ahead of Ross Rizzo, very close in that field. And not far behind them again is Tyler Blackburn for the Race on Oz team. Miko Dortanek is going to be fourth in that class with Corey Ott, Daryl Carter, and Daniel Bagnall just behind in class. Those guys are going to be hoping for a clean start, and only a small field today, but those GT3s so far this season have had some crazy racing and strategic racing at that. So it might be low numbers, but we're not going to be low on action. You can bet that as the cars get ready for their pace lap.
I'm really excited for tonight. I think it's going to be a fantastic race. A very, very tough track to pass on. Adding the infield section, we'll probably see a little bit of passing down that little chute where the drag strip is, but it's definitely not going to be easy for the guys coming through the field. And as we've seen in other weeks, the real messy stuff starts to happen when the DP cars come up to lap the GTEs for the first time and lap the GT3s for the second time, and they all try to lap each other at exactly the same moment. We'll no doubt see that again tonight, and that's where things get messy, around about the 25-30 minute mark in this race.
Yeah, what's IMSA without a little bit of fireworks? It's what this series has produced all season, and we love it. Both races so far have been an absolute cracker. If you haven't checked them out, be sure to check them out on V8 Online. They're all there, but right now, keep your eyes focused on this Sonoma race, because there is some close times in qualifying. There's going to be even closer battles in the race, and this track, like Jay said, is going to produce fantastic racing. You don't want to miss this.
Track's fairly hot out there, not much in regards to wind, it's just fairly light, so it won't affect the drivers too much under brakes and missing braking markers, but the warm track will definitely see guys try to get some heat into these tyres as quick as they can. Make sure they've got the right amount of grip early on. So we see the DP class pull away from the GTE class, which is very, very clever from the GTE class, due to the fact that the DPs do not have tyre warmers, so they struggle a little bit for heat early on in these races. 45 minutes ahead around this Sonoma Raceway circuit. As we said, running on the long layout, so a slightly different layout to what we're used to in our V8 Online broadcasts at this circuit, but nonetheless, the extra almost K in length adds some pretty important racing with the big wide drag strip through the middle. Really looking forward to how this is going to play out.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect circuit for this kind of racing, because we have the S's where it's going to be hard to pass. We have the long left-hander where the faster cars could easily get a move if they're feeling brave. For multi-class racing, this track is pretty much perfect. So as they head towards the final corner now to get this race underway, this is going to be an absolute thriller. Can't wait to get this underway.
Field nice and spread, which is really, really good to see. The pace car pulls off under control of Lewis Gallon, leading the way in the DP class.
Negotiate their way through the long right-hander, and the power is down. It is green flag for round 3 of the IMSA Sports Car Championship as they fly into turn 1.
Good jump from Gallon. Sam Fitzpatrick's actually looking like, oh no, his timing's now working, sorry. But good jump from Biddle in the GTE class. Darren Marsh has got away very well as well.
Everyone's gone down a single file. One Ferrari has gone a little bit tripped up on the curb, but everyone's got through safely as the GT3s follow them up into turn 1. They look to be single file with Marcin Scries back, leading your way into turn 1. And they're all clean. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a clean start. Back to your prototypes. It's close up front.
Actually, going with GTE, it's very, very tight in the middle of the pack. The first 3 or 4 cars are pulled away, but Antitero ran wide in the number 5, and Lewis Goodway and Jose Lana, they're trying to get past. Jose's going to try and go around the outside at the different style hairpin to what we would normally see.
Yeah, it's a unique hairpin. It's sort of got two distinct apexes, so you can try a few different lines, see if it works. But I'm not able to make anything happen on this first lap. But just a quick note as well, it is fantastic to see that in a recent update the Fords have been patched, so they won't be affected by damage now, so we've got plenty more of them on the grid. And we'll start seeing some teams starting to use that car a bit more, so we should get even more close racing between the two marques.
It's what we always want to see. We want to see nice close racing between all the different brands. Lewis Goodway defended his position into the hairpin, turn 12 here. As we start lap 2, this is the battle for 5th and 6th in the GTE class.
Yeah, if this is anything like the previous 2 rounds, the GTE class, this is how it's going to be for the entire 45 minutes. These guys love racing in a pack, and there's every chance they'll stay this way the entire race, as all the Ferraris now making their way around into that long left-hander. This battle, it's only just warming up. It's going to be a very long race for these guys, and they're going to be seeing plenty of each other.
This is such a cool circuit. Ultra hot, and late afternoon sun setting adds a cool looking element to it. But this has been probably my favourite circuit in the whole of iRacing. I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. Love the racing this track always brings together.
Yeah, it's a good circuit. It's probably one of those circuits that doesn't quite get used enough in the iRacing service, but it's good to see it being used here for the IMSA class. As we said at the start, it's a fantastic track for these guys with multi-class, but right now we're just having a nice settled start, nothing too dramatic, which is what we want to see. As I say that, there's actually a move going on down to the hairpin in your GTE class. It's Gustavo Conde fires one up the inside of Dennis Feidler, and they're actually going to go down the front straight side by side. But that was a squeeze. Definitely a squeeze there, but Gustavo holds onto the position, and they're heading into turn 1 now, single file. So some of them are calm, others they're fighting hard.
Reece Gardner's got a lot of pressure on behind him from Brendan Jackson as well, so that's 9th and 10th in class. Another battle brewing as well. The end of at the end of DP, Porphyry and Warren Pickering. The rest of the DP class is sort of checked out and spread a bit. This is the closest battle on track at the moment. Actually, in saying that, Gustavo Conte has just gone off the track, coming into the infield. See if we can pick up exactly what happened, because he was battling for position, so not sure if he's been helped around. Looks like he may have done that all on his own.
Fortunately for him, he's now behind our GT3 cars as well, so that was a costly mistake right at the start for him, if it was a mistake.
He just got the front right onto the dirt through the little right-hander down the hill, and it's just looped him around, and he's had to wait for the GT3 class to clear before he could get it back out on track. The field's starting to spread. 1.3 second gap, Lewis Gallon back to Wayne Burke. Last lap around, Burke was the same pace as Gallon, so Gallon put in a really quick lap 2, but lap 3 about the same pace, so we may see it close up a little.
Yeah, DP so far in the previous 2 rounds has been a bit of a slow burner, but from the previous 2 rounds, this battle definitely hit up towards the end of the race. And Wayne Burke at Watkins Glen last week was a very strong mid-race, so if he can continue that form mid-race and continue to eke that gap into Luis Paulo Gallon, he might be able to challenge us before the pit stops, which will be awesome. But right now, Luis Paulo Gallon with a second lead, continuing his dominance of this series.
Yeah, just before the pit stops was when the whole field started to change, wasn't it? We saw Gallon start to struggle towards that pit stop, and Wayne Burke start to really pick up and gather speed. And then made a couple of errors, got in a couple of incidents, and that was probably made it a little bit too hard for him to catch back up, and Gallon went away with it. But Burke looks
quite the battle
ultra-committed.
happening in GTE right now. Darren Marsh and Zachy Hanlon, this is for 2nd and 3rd on the podium. Marsh just ran it ever so slightly wide into that final hairpin, and Zach Hanlon had quite the look down there, and Hanlon using a lot of curb there into turn 1, but Hanlon's putting on a lot of pressure right now on the back of that Ford GT, and Marsh just looks like he's struggling on corner entry a little bit, so not sure what's happening there, but right now Darren Marsh looks like he is under threat.
Good to see a nice Ford versus Ferrari battle. Been waiting a few weeks to actually see a couple of these battles.
Interesting to see, because we can now get a proper idea of if these cars have any strengths or weaknesses properly, because lately the Ford GT has been a little bit handicapped, but finally we get a proper look at these cars, and right now Zachy Hanlon, who is using all kinds of curb on the exit of that hairpin there, he looks to be very strong on the entry and middle of the corner, but right now Darren Marsh is setting the exit of the corners up quite well, leaving Hanlon no opportunity under the brakes into the next corners, but Hanlon might just be biding his time, but he doesn't want to bide it too much, because Antti Tato, Lewis Goodway and Jose Lunga aren't too far behind either, so GTE could once again become quite the train as Lunga nearly into the back of a car there.
Have a look at the front of DP. We were talking about how this could close up. Wayne Burke gained a second in the last little section of this track. Last lap was the same lap, and then all of a sudden there's nothing between them, only half a second separating first and second out on track.
But once again, Luis Paul Gallon just losing a little bit after the start of the race. It might be low tyre pressures, he might be extremely quick off the blocks, which he has been all season, but it's this phase of the race now where it looks like the pace comes back to Wayne Burke, so we'll see if he can close in, but right now Paul O'Gallon looks very strong for the S's, but it looks like Wayne Burke might have the pace advantage right now.
He's dropped off a little bit under brakes here, he closes up, and then the first part of this lap he is really aggressive and really quick, so we'll see how much he can gain. They're about to start lap 7, predicting about 33-34 laps in this race tonight. Relatively short lap in comparison to what we saw last week at Watkins Glen running with the boot layout. This battle here, as well as the one between Marsh and Hanlon, they're the two best battles we have on track at the moment.
Just touching back onto that point about the short track length, that of course means that we're going to have traffic coming up a bit earlier in the race as well. And as we talked about pre-race, that means that this track is so difficult to pass with traffic, it might actually force some drivers to pit early, or it might alter the driver strategies because it is so hard to pass here, and they might be coming to traffic earlier. So this shorter track layout, even though it might mean less action, like opportunities on the track, it could also throw up more race strategies.
Yeah, it won't be long before Gallon's actually coming up to traffic. I'm going to say in the next 3/4 of a lap, as Wayne Burke is about the same pace or same distance as he was before. I reckon they're going to come up to traffic coming into the hairpin next time.
Sonoma has quite a lot of high aero corners, and these prototypes aren't lacking in aero at all, so they just eat the track up, whereas the GT3s have to work a little bit more. So big pace advantage difference between the cars this week, so will make dealing with traffic a lot harder for these drivers, and it's also going to mean if you get stuck behind a slower car, it's going to be a lot more consequential.
Middle of GT3 is starting to get nice and tight between Dunac and Corey Ott.
They've got a GTE to deal with as well, which is Gustavo Conde, who had that spin early in the race, but he's trying to make his way through the field now. But it's an interesting thing is that he's actually not lapping these cars at all, so they don't have any reason to give him like automatic track position.
All sorts of locked up as he tried to get through.
Nearly got put in the wall too. They're running very close there. It's that final hairpin using all the track available, but just quickly saw out of shot there the headlights of Luis Paul Gallon. Traffic's coming up, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready.
Vale Riches has closed up in the last couple of laps on Jose Lana. Just noticing in the times as well. So this is a battle that's starting to come out of nothing. Actually, Lewis Goodway, who's just behind, he's made a mistake and lost a couple of spots. So this race is starting to heat up quite a lot. You see Gallon on screen. And just up ahead is Darryl Carter, who's the last car on the lead lap in GT3. But Vale Riches looks like he's got good pace as Daniel Bagnell runs off the track through the chute.
Had quite the look into that final hairpin there, as yeah, Vale Riches definitely got the pace right now. And just interesting to note that he's actually switched cars. He was previously in the Ferrari, so with the Ford being fixed now, he's clearly thought, hey, this might suit my driving style a little bit better. I'll switch to that. He's done that, and it looks like it's paying off for him. He's all over the back of Langer, and it's just a matter of time, I think.
Yeah, I think it won't be too far away before Riches makes that pass. His teammate Darren Marsh also running in the Team TTL Ford as well, so they've made the switch from the Ferrari to the Ford. They're obviously feeling like a lot of other teams preferred the Ford, but were running the Ferrari due to the issues with the damage, which, as I said before, have been fixed. So we're going to start seeing quite a few more Fords out on track. Gustavo Conte is in the pit, so he's now gone a lap down. We saw him just before. Now Lewis Goodway, who obviously had made a mistake before, he's starting to close back up towards Ritchie's and Lagner as well. So this is for 5th, 6th and 7th in GTE. The rest of the field spread by around about 1 to 2 second gaps between most of the drivers. But this is definitely the closest battle on track at the moment.
I just love watching the commitment as they head through that chute corner. And some of the cars just two wheels in the dirt, using every inch of track. These drivers are leaving no stone unturned around Sonoma, quite literally, as Goodway closes in on the two cars in front. And, you know, is that just Jose Lungo just struggling a little bit, or are the cars behind just genuine pace right now?
Could be a combination of the two. Last lap times, Wagner was definitely the quickest out of the three. The 26.3 versus a 26.6 and a 26.5. So this pack has spread a little, but not much. Actually, go to the front, right at the front of the field. The traffic has played into Wayne Burke's hands. Have a look at this. He's right there.
This is what we said earlier. Traffic can work for you sometimes, or it can work against you. And Luis Paul Gallen, once again, feeling the wrath of GT3 traffic. And Wayne Burke, you know, he had an opportunity at Watkins Glen and it slipped through his hands. He is not going to let this opportunity go lightly. As the two DPs now approach the back of Tyler Blackburn in the race on Oscar, Wayne Burke continues to down the back of Gallen, and he's in the dirt. Is he going to try anything into this long right-hander? Gallen shuts the door on him as they head now into this long corner. High line for Gallen, inside for Burke.
Burke's got to be careful because that GT3 car is going to be right there where he wants to go. Oh, they've just made a little bit of contact. And a big lock-up for Gallen, and through goes Wayne Burke. Great move.
Gallen mid-corner there, thought about the crossover, but Wayne Burke is a smart driver, shut the door perfectly and got the job done. So brilliant move by Burke there, covered off all options that Gallen had. And, you know, a little bit of door beating, who doesn't love to see that as they head down into that hairpin, maximum commitment, beautiful racing.
This is awesome to see. I think Gallen will be loving this too, that he's actually being a little bit challenged in this race. He's been waiting for it. He knew that Burke had pace last race but wasn't quite able to get to him. This is what we want to see.
Yeah, Wayne Burke definitely had the pace around Watkins Glen, but a few mistakes cost him badly. But, you know, I think he wants redemption, and, you know, Luis Paul Gallen knows that, so he's going to fight hard to not let Burke get away easily. But right now, Burke is doing a fantastic job, especially through traffic.
He's actually pulling away a little bit too.
Yeah, plenty of pace in that car, so Burke's definitely put a bit of time into that setup, a bit of time into refining his driving style for that car, and it's paying dividends for him. And Gallen, once again, struggling mid-race, but this is a long race and plenty of strategies to be played as Gallon there, 2 wheels in the dirt, or maybe even 4 wheels, as he tries to attack the Synergy Sim Racing Corvette prototype.
This is actually a positive with this little bit of traffic just ahead. This will close the gap up because he's going to catch them at the worst possible spot on the track. Going to have to work hard around the outside. Here comes Gallon. Oh, almost, and he does force the GT3 off the track, and that's big help as the GT3 car there goes into the pits. I'm sure that's Ross Rizzo.
Gallon.
Ross Rizzo, who was P2 in class, so I think he may have been forced into making that pit stop out of sequence.
Or is he perhaps just doing an alternate strategy? These cars only need a little bit of fuel in the pit stop, so is he taking that little bit of fuel now, trying to get some clear track, well, as clear as he can in a multi-class race, and put in some quick lap times and do a huge undercut? Because I don't think these cars today will be taking tyres, it's only a shorter race. So, I don't know, this could be a strategy call, or it could have been forced into it, but I do actually like this for Ross Rizzo. This could work well.
12-second stop for Rizzo, so we'll keep one eye on that. The other car in the lane is Mirko Dutnak, who has a 12-second stop, so about the same pit stop time for him. So see how that plays into Rizzo's hands. We saw Rizzo have good pace last week as well, as the leader for GT3 is being attacked by the leaders in the DP class. Marcian gets passed by Gallon.
Marcin actually doing a fantastic job right now. He's quite a fair way ahead of second place in class, who is now Tyler Blackburn after Rizzo pitted. So Marcin doing a fantastic job in that class. Not sure if that's a name we've heard of before, but he's doing fantastic as he leads that class by quite a way.
Marcin as well, racing in the Pro Series, so very well known by the guys that race in that. See Zach Hanlon on screen at the moment, currently third. He's dropped off from Darren Marsh, who he was right on his tail a few laps ago, but he's been unable to match Marsh's pace in this mid-race. And Elliot Biddle's just pulled away. He's got about a 5-second gap back to Marsh.
Watch this battle happening on track. Just worth noting that on that last lap, Wayne Burke a second faster than Luis Paulo Gallon. So Wayne Burke is pulling out all the stops right now as he leads outright in this race. He's on a mission right now.
Yeah, Gallon made a couple of mistakes, and he also caught the lap car at the wrong spot too. So those two things impacting together. He's probably coming up to cars at the wrong spot, making mistakes because of that, throwing him off. So, interesting to see, so we aren't far off the halfway point in this race, see who decides to make their stops. Jose Lunga and Val Ritchie's still going at it, still separated by just under a second as they start to catch the number 5 Avanti Turo as well. So this has become a 3-car battle. Lewis Goodway actually has dropped off the back of these cars. Actually, looking at the last lap time, I actually think that Turno has actually been held up by some passing cars potentially, or leader in the lane for GT3.
Sorry to distract your attention away from that briefly, but I've actually just noticed a little bit of carnage that happened back on lap 10. Daryl Carter lost his Mercedes coming into that long left-hander and clouted the wall, which has unfortunately brought an end to his race early. But in reaction to that, Warren Pickering in your Corvette class had to spin to avoid the incident. So a little bit of chaos happened out there, but we still have the prototype of Warren Pickering out there. But sadly, Daryl Carter's night has come to an end a bit early.
Unfortunate for Daryl. But Ross Rizzo's now ended up about 2 seconds behind Marcian, so it's probably got a bit of gain. I think it was about 4 seconds before the stop, so he's got a 2-second gain there or thereabouts. Have a look at Vale Ritchie's. He's there. He's ready to make this move.
Yeah, Valrich is a very experienced driver, and he's done a lot of racing in these cars too, so he's going to know every trick in the book just about in these GTE cars, and this battle is getting pretty feisty now as they're all closing up on one another as Antitero leads this little pack, but it's only going to be a matter of time before these cars start dicing and battling away, because Valrich is right now. He's a man on a mission and working very hard behind that Ferrari.
Be interesting to see if he jumps in early, if he feels like he's being held up. I'm not 100% sure. I was starting to see some GTs pit. As I said, I didn't quite do enough research this week, so I'm not quite 100% sure on the pit strategy, but I'm fairly sure there'll be a pit stop. We've seen, a mistake there. We see Zach Hanlon in the lane, so I'm very sure that we'll see pit stops, but a big mistake there from Lunga, and Richie's goes past around the outside. Oh.
That was a squeeze. They headed through that very fast left kink. There was barely anything between the two cars. Lunga very, very lucky to hold on to that position, as Riches did have the overlap, but the inside line just helped him a little bit, used all the track available to hold on to that position. But I think that's a message to Riches that, hey, the gloves are coming off now. If you're going to get past me, you've got to work for it. And Lunga very lucky in that battle there.
So we are officially now at the halfway point of this race. 22.5 minutes left in this 45-minute race. So we'll see about 33 laps now. This race has absolutely flown by so far. Can't wait for the second part of this one.
Yeah, if it's anything like the rest of this series, this always picks up in the second half, and it always gets a little bit too exciting for us. So we'll see what this race has in store. And I can't wait as all the strategies pan out, because right now, strategies are a bit over the place. We have some cars coming in early, we have others still running from the start of the race, so a lot of different strategies happening out there.
Goes ultra wide through the chute, and then big brake lock up coming through the hairpin. That was a big moment for Richies.
Antitero, who was ahead of that battle with Richies, and Jose Lunga has dove into the pits, so he's played his cards now, but Richies, he's got sand all over the tyres, there's no grip for him, and Lewis Goodway is seeing if he can do anything about that. It just runs a little bit deep into turn one, so he's lost that opportunity, but Richies, that was a big moment.
Replay on screen of it. Way out in the dirt. And then on the brakes, he thought he was going to run into the back of that Ferrari ahead of him, locked it up, almost couldn't pull it up. And he's lost heaps of time out of that. And he's got Lewis Goodway right on his tail now, ready to make a move and come past.
Yeah, the 4GT has had its damage fixed, but unfortunately for Richies, it still doesn't have the off-road capabilities of a 4x4. So he's going to get away with that one without damage, but he's not completely unscathed, as that Ferrari behind him now is actually closing in on him. So Lewis Goodway, perhaps he does have the pace of a Richies.
Now I'm fairly sure he's got the pace. He's just been making a few mistakes and being lapped or passing cars at the wrong spot, I think is what's hurt him. I was about to say I think Richies will come in the lane here, and he pulled off just as I was about to say it. Lunga in as well, so front three of this field now, Biddle, Marsh and Goodway, as it was at the start of this race. Those three yet to make their stops. The rest of the field in now. Reese Gardner in as well. He's in P7 at the moment. Brendan Jackson still out there. Zach Hanlon has pitted. And Antitero is coming through the hairpin, the final hairpin. And he will likely pass or jump Lunga and Richies, as he was ahead of them before the pit stops. And does quite easily.
Quite a tricky pit exit, as the cars actually from the pit lane get fired right into the racing line. I actually just saw a GT3 there off Mirko Dornatek off at turn one, which is a very tricky corner, which is approached at very high speed. So he's found his way into the wall, which is a bit of a shame for him, but right now, Tyler Blackburn continues to lead that class, but yet to pit. So still plenty happening in your GT3 class, but GTE starting to settle out with the strategies.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to play out with GTE. Zach Hanlon, who was right behind, well, not far behind Darren Marsh, they're punching at about the same lap times now. So it's going to come down to how quick Marsh makes his pit stop for the second, third position in GTE. We've got Greg Stewart in the lane, the third of the Team TTL Ford GTs. Back at the front, Wayne Burke now at 2.4 second gap over Lewis Gallon. Now I'm thinking that the DPs may not be pitting in this race. My apologies, I haven't done enough research, as I said before.
That would be pretty interesting if they could get the entire way in the tank, but we'll see how it all pans out. But right now, Wayne Burke's putting in some amazing lap times and just continuing to eke that gap out ever so slightly over Lewis Paul Gallon, who nearly matched his lap time perfectly in that last lap. So Gallon looks like his 3 out of 3 record for this series might be a bit of a risk right now, as Wayne Burke looks in command of this race out front.
So 17 minutes left in this race on lap 20 at the moment. Only 11 cars left on the lead lap, sorry, 10 cars left on the lead lap. So the front 3 in GTE who have not yet pitted are still on the lead lap. As here we go, right on cue, as I say about strategy. In comes Wayne Burke into the lane. So there goes my theory about all this completely out the window, as per usual. I know nothing about what's going on.
One thing that is going out on track right now is Darren Marsh is actually slowly starting to close up on Elliot Biddle in the Evolution Racing Team car. Just over the last few laps, Biddle has been struggling a little bit. I don't know if that's traffic or just genuine pace, but Marsh has consistently started to bring that gap down. It still stands at about 5 seconds, so a long way to go, but on that last lap alone, there was 6/10 in Marsh's favour, so it'll be interesting to see, with all these cars coming back out after their pit stops, just how close everyone is to the leader as well, because right now Biddle is starting to struggle ever so slightly out front.
He's got that gap into about 4 seconds. Was out to as far as 6 not all that long ago. You know, keep a look on Lewis Gallon as he comes through first hairpin. Up through the S's. I'm fairly sure, looking at how the strategy's playing out in DP, that he will pit this lap. Wayne Burke's actually got some traffic after his pit stop. This is going to hurt him. Got Paul Feely. He's going to try and dive up the inside into the hairpin. He does get it done, but that will hurt Wayne Burke as he makes his way back through the field after making the pit stop. Lewis Gallon continues on.
Yeah, and Gallon putting in some pretty good lap times. He's within 6/10 of his fastest lap so far, which is quite a bit better than he was before Wayne Burke came in for his pit stop. So Gallon perhaps saved a little bit of tyre life for this phase of the race and punching in some big numbers while Wayne Burke is struggling to get past some other prototypes.
Last lap times on screen for Gallon, Fitzpatrick and Burke. Fitzpatrick yet to make his pit stop as well. Wayne Burke with his outlap 1:39.8. So keep that in the memory bank for when Gallon makes his stop, which I don't think will be too far away.
Your GTE class leader, Elliot Biddle, dives into the pits. We'll see if Darren Marsh reacts to that. He doesn't, so Darren Marsh will take over class lead for GTE, whereas Elliot Biddle dives into the pits and takes his mandatory pit stop for that class. And we'll see what kind of gap he has to Zach Hanlon, who was a bit behind. We expect Biddle to come out in front, but we'll see if that gap's closed down a little bit.
There's around about 6 to 7 seconds before the stop, so we'll see where that is. Now Lewis Gallon's in the pits this time.
Wayne Burke still finding his way through the S's, so a long way before he gets to the pit exit. So Lewis Paul Gallon, that trip through the pit lane right now at 60 kilometers an hour must feel like an absolute eternity for him as GTE cars go whizzing by him. As as he pulls into his pit stop. Wayne Burke now coming out of the final hairpin. We'll see how this goes as they rejoin.
A 7.6 second stop for Burke. 7.2 second stop for Gallon, but Burke just drives by.
Yep, so a no contest there. Burke regains the class lead. And Lewis Paul Gallon actually just dipping his wheels into the dirt as he exits the pit. So he's got a bit of work to do if he wants to make this 3 out of 3, and he's only got 13 minutes to make it happen.
Got Warren Pickering in between them, who is yet to make his stop in the Redback Racing team entry.
Darren Marsh dives into the pits for GTE, so this will be interesting now with where he comes out in regards to Zachary Hanlon as well.
Yeah, we're guessing Biddle should get out ahead, but Hanlon's going to be the one to watch. Hanlon 8.3 second stop. Fairly quick stop in comparison to other cars in his class. The only car that was quicker was Gustavo Conde. Oh, as you see a car into the fence. That's the leader for GT3. Marskin's looped it at the chute and he's put it into the fence, and Ross Rizzo now leads that class.
But he's come into the pits for a second time. But what has happened to Ross Rizzo? There is chaos happening in your GT3 class right now.
This plays into Tyler Blackburn's hands, who now potentially has the race win.
A lot of damage to both Rizzo and Marcin's car, so perhaps those two got together. But yeah, like you said,
Possibly.
Tyler Blackburn has assumed class lead, but he has Corey Ott not far behind. It's going to be on very closely between these two cars.
They have actually come together at the chute. Big contact between Rizzo.
Oh, there's more chaos! Your GT3 class leader off into the fence. We have a Ford GTE into the fence. Is that Luis Paulo Gallon? Luis Paulo Gallon is out of the race as well. What has happened at the top of the hill here?
Well, the second part of these races is just absolutely taking off. Wow.
Gallon
Replay
has
coming up.
retired.
Gallon,
What has happened?
Gallon's launched it over the curb at turn 3, and as he's looped it back around onto the track, he's collected one of the other cars. I'm not quite sure who that was. We'll try and pick up another replay. The Gallon up through turn 2. It's just run wide at this section. Big air. Around he goes. As Vale Richies, I'm fairly sure, he's made contact with, and that's absolutely destroyed his race because he was on for a podium in class as well. Wowee. Corey Ott has now assumed the race lead in GT3. We've only got 3 runners left in GT3. Lewis Gallon out in the DP class. Vale Richies continues on with damage. Lewis Goodway's got ahead of Zach Hanlon as well. And Hanlon now trying to hunt down Goodway.
Something must have happened to Hanlon, because we of course expected him to be fighting for the podium. And he's not even close. He's down in 6th in class right now. So Hanlon a long way away from where we expected him to be, as Darren Marsh is a long way up the road. And that's where we expected Hanlon to be as well.
Marsh has actually closed up on Biddle. He's now only 2 seconds behind. Before the pit stops, that was out to 4, and as we said, at one point out to 6 seconds. Wowee. 10 minutes left, and this is... I love him. I love this class. Why haven't we been broadcasting these for a long time? This is awesome.
Pretty crazy. Like, in your GT3 class, just 5 minutes ago, we thought the race was in Marcin's hand. About 4 minutes ago, we thought the GT3 class was in Rizzo's hands. Then we thought it was in Blackburn's. Now it's in Corey Ott's. What is happening?
That class is definitely not decided. Blackburn's made his stop and he's come out. He was about 2.5 seconds behind. He's closed it into 1.9. So I'll keep a look at where Tyler Blackburn comes up into this field, or through as the back of the field, or the front of the field I should say, comes through and past him.
Back to your first and second in GTE, they're now in roughly the same camera shot, so Darren Marsh in that 4 GTE is making all kinds of time gains on Elliott Biddle. And we did say at the end of Biddle at the end of his stint before he pitted, that he was starting to drop the pace off a little bit. He still has 8.5 minutes to defend that GTE class lead, but Darren Marsh is going to make him work for it.
Have a look at their last lap times, those two though. Absolutely identical. 1/1000 separating them last lap. So they're both on about the same pace. Live timing saying about 2.5 seconds at the moment. So Marsh has dropped off a little on this lap.
And just in case there wasn't enough battles on track, we also have, I believe it's 5th and 6th in your Corvette class. There's only 2 tenths between those guys as well, which is Paul Feely and Warren Pickering. So if you wanted some action on track, you're not in short supply right about now.
Pickering, of course, just made his pit stop not that long ago. I think the last lap. Feely did it the lap previous. So awesome to see all these really cool battles brewing. Elliott Biddle, Darren Marsh now into 3 seconds, so that's spread a little bit. Lewis Goodway, Zachary Hanlon about 8 tenths of a second. And Corey Ott and Blackburn now at 4 seconds, so Blackburn may have nothing left in his tyres.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy. There's just so much happening on track right now, and it's a bit hard to know where to look right about now, but there's lots of battles happening, which is fantastic to see, and I can't wait to see how this all pans out.
This is what we want from multi-class racing, and it's what we've got tonight. The only big incident, well, 2 big incidents happening, the first and second in GT3 class coming together, and then only half a lap later, the second place in DP cleaning up one of the contenders for a podium in GTE. Amazing.
Yeah, this IMSA series, if it's not one surprise, it's the other. Every race is unexpected, but in this IMSA race, you really cannot pick a winner, because there are just so many different variables as to what can happen in these races, and you never know what's going to happen when you enter these races, and it's fantastic. It's producing a brilliant racing, fantastic strategies, and incredible highlights for all these drivers.
Next week we're off to Moss Sports, so I can't wait for that. That'll be absolutely intriguing to see how these guys can actually try and pass around there. Got 3rd and 4th in class for GTE on screen at the moment. Antitero and Jose Lunga on screen. We would have seen Vale Riches in this battle if it wasn't for that unfortunate incident which we saw about 5 minutes ago with Lewis Gallon.
Just a little bit behind those 2 battling GT as well, only about a second behind is actually Goodway and Hanlon as well, so this battle could very quickly become a 4-way fight if Tero and Lunga are very heavily defending against one another, and with only 6 minutes left on the clock, they could very well start fighting pretty hard, which could give an opportunity for any one of these drivers to fill that final spot on the podium.
Lunga almost into the back. Lunga almost cleaned up the back of Tero then. That was ultra close.
It wouldn't be IMSA if there wasn't a little bit of paint trading or very near misses, so it's fantastic. We love seeing it, but hopefully we get a fair fight between these guys. Looks like things out front of GTE have settled down ever so slightly, so this is the battle to watch, and what a battle it is so far, as Goodway and Hanlon actually closing in ever so slightly more on Lunga and Tero, so your podium for GTE is far from sorted right now.
I think the only podium that is potentially sorted at the moment is DP, at least 1st and 2nd. Wayne Hewitt in 3rd, Samuel Dakey in 4th position, but they're not all that far apart, 2.3 seconds. Definitely not sorted. Corey Ott leading in GT3. Blackburn starting to close up. And Mirko, sorry, the only other car left in the race. So those 3 will all get podiums, but which order will they finish? 1st and 2nd still to be decided, but we'll stay with the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th battle in GTE.
Ooh, Lewis Goodway, they're doing the long way around the hairpin there, trying to let that Corvette prototype get through on him, but made life a little bit difficult on himself, and Zachary Hanlon wants to make him pay for that. Because with Goodway now, he's put himself slightly out of line the entire way through these S's, so Hanlon's going to have those bright yellow headlights flashing right through the mirrors of Goodway's car, and that's another battle we have to watch out for. The Corvette prototype manages to get past Jose Lunga there, so he's got that out of the way, and Anti-Terro is actually going to get the Corvette past him pretty easily into turn 1, so that's gave Terro a little bit of breathing space, but there's not much to pick between any one of these 4 GTE cars.
Around about 4 laps to go in this race. We've got 3 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock. .20-second lead for Wayne Burke out the front of the DP class. Sam Fitzpatrick second. Third and fourth though is starting to close up. Sam Dakey starting to close up now. Under 2 seconds. This little pack. Not long left in the race.
Holy cow, that was a humongous dive there by Jose Lunga, firing it from probably 3-4 car lengths back on Anti-Terror. That was a huge dive bomb, and now Lewis Goodway is getting into this fight as well. That was a humongous dive bomb. That must have been a missed brake marker. But this battle pack has just lit up all of a sudden. All these cars, there's nothing to choose between any of them as Lunga that's massively sideways. Chaos once again strikes at Sonoma as Lunga faces the wrong way around. What a lap for those GTE cars.
Wowee, it's not over. Hanlon's not far off Goodway, but we'll get a replay quickly of the big moment for Lunga. Saw it from on board with Lewis Goodway. Saw the big slide. I was waiting for the slam into the side. Goodway did a great job to only just make a little bit of contact. But this will help Zach Hanlon now, who is right on the tail of Goodway. Terro's now starting to pull away.
Just a quick update on your GT3 class as well. Tyler Blackburn continuing to close up on Corey Ott, but another 6/10 in that last lap. There's only about a second separating the two cars, but I think Tyler Blackburn might just be running out of time in that class, but Zachary Hanlon not running out of time just yet as he looks to get past Lewis Goodway.
Wayne Burke crosses the start-finish line. He'll be told now 2 laps left in this race with 1 minute and 8 seconds left on the clock, so won't take long. Blackburn might still have 2.5 laps left to get this move done, so he could still do it. But Zach Hanlon...
This might be the final lap as Wayne Burke with a 1 minute 20 lap.
Yeah, potentially, it could be. Could be the last lap.
So, I think for Zachary Hanlon, this has to be all or nothing on this lap now. Maximum attack and see what he can do onto Lewis Goodway, who has a little bit of a margin over him right now.
It will be the last lap. So this won't take too long for this race to be all said and done.
Zach Hanlon was firing the car into turn 1 as hard as you've ever seen a GTE car go into there. So he's trying as hard as he can. He just locks the inside front. And Lewis Goodway manages to gap him massively, so looks like Zachary Hanlon will be relegated to that position. But look at Goodway, he's not letting the pressure off Terro anytime soon. He's right there, and he's closing ever so slightly, but does he have enough speed to get there for that final hairpin dive, or does Terro have this?
It's officially the final lap now. The checkered flag will wave. Wayne Burke through the final hairpin for the final time. Great drive from him. He managed to get past at the right point. So well done for Wayne Burke. Elliot Biddle will pick up the win in GTE. Great drive from him. Goodway, I don't think, has got enough to get Terro, who's going to pull away from him and pick up the last place on the podium. Blackburn.
Your GT3 class, we said at the start, it might have low numbers, but it won't be low on action. And Tyler Blackburn, the last lap, giving everything he had to get to Corey Ott. And he's had a huge moment and big damage to that race on Oz Mercedes.
Replay of that on screen now. Good thing for Blackburn is that the car behind for position was about 30 seconds back down the road,
But Blackburn
Wowee.
can't drive the car, and
Oh,
Mirko's already
no.
passed, so
Yeah, he's gonna
Mirko
finish
will
third.
take second.
wow.
But Blackburn, huge damage. He's relegated to third, but Corey Ott out of the final corner, last man standing, a fantastic drive by him. He's gonna win top split at Sonoma in your IMSA class.
Well done to him. Tyler Blackburn actually hit the toilet sitting there, so hopefully no one was using that at the time. That would have been quite scary.
After that high-speed spin, I think he might have needed it, so it might have been strategic parking there by him.
Maybe. But,
unfortunate by him, but a fantastic race for that class. Chaos everywhere, and what a race that was. As usual, IMSA providing the goods as Wayne Burke lights the tyres up after a well-deserved win.
yeah, winner, as you just said, Wayne Burke picking up the win. Sam Fitzpatrick in P2, Wayne Hewitt in third. Great drive from him. Sam Dakey in fourth. Paul Feely and Warren Pickering were pretty much inseparable the entire race. Finished fourth and fifth. Sorry, fifth and sixth. And Lewis Gallon, unfortunately, DNFs in that one. GTE class, Elliot Biddle picks up the win over Darren Marsh and Auntie Tero. Lewis Goodway, Zach Hanlon, Greg Stewart, Reese Gardner, Vale Riches managed to finish the race after that incident we saw with he and Gallon, Brendan Jackson and Dennis Feidler. Then over the page to Martin Jun, Gusto Conte and Jose Lunga rounding out that field. We've got Corey Ott picking up the win in GT3, Miko Dudnak, Tyler Blackburn, Marcian Spizak, Ross Rizzo, Daniel Bagnall and Daryl Carter rounding out the GT3 field. What a fantastic night of racing.
Yeah, fantastic night of racing. Just look at the chat now. There looks like there's a few tempers flaring, so this next round of the championship could get very interesting between a few drivers. And looks like this fight for the championship is well and truly on, with some big headlines coming out of this race tonight.
Yeah, next week we're off to Mosport for this series. Big week of broadcasting over the next few days. We're broadcasting 6 races in 6 days starting Saturday night. We've got Saturday night. We'll be off to Eldora for another special event, the iRacing 410 Classic. Sunday we have the V8 Supercar Online Premier Series from the Nürburgring. Monday, of course, official V8 Supercars also from the Nürburgring. Tuesday we'll be back here at Sonoma for the Midweek Sports Car Classic. Wednesday we start our broadcast of our new series, the Formula Renault Series, which will be at Laguna Seca. And then next Thursday night, as we said, we'll be back for IMSA action at Mosport. Bo, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Yeah, no worries, mate. I would not miss this series for the world. Another fantastic night. Can't wait for next week.
Yeah, I can't either. Thank you very much for tuning in, one and all. And we will see you next week when we will be back for IMSA at Mosport. But we'll also see you Saturday night for our next broadcast, which will be the iRacing 410 Classic at Eldora. We will see you then.